Hello and welcome to the review of Challengers Korea Week 1. Fun fact, it's actually called Xenics Challengers Korea. Not an important fact, but a fun fact nonetheless. But let's get right into it. For the first game of the week, we had Breon Blade versus Cerebral Gaming. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. But it was good. It was a really good match. I was really surprised. I expected it to be a good match, and I was still surprised at the quality of it. Both the teams looked pretty rough in game 1. And the players that were expected to do well did poorly. Like you had Cacao and you had Thal and Weiser all not performing as well as they should have. Meanwhile, you had players like Croco and that were just playing really well. And you didn't really expect that out of them. Like especially Croco, it's someone that was a mid-tier jungler last split and looks like a top-tier jungler now. Game 2, Breon Blade made some questionable subs. They took out Croco, Fire Rain, and Hollow. That's another person that I didn't expect to do well was Hollow and kind of Fire Rain, but I also kind of expected him to do well. And they subbed them all out and put in Doyle, Jean, and Henna. And as expected, they lost Game 2. But Game 3, all starters were put back in. Overall, Cerebral had a few bad moments in Games 1 and 3. However, Breon Blade still played really well. There was one moment in Game 2 that won Cerebral the game where it was a really, really clean Wombo combo. It was the what was it? Why am I forgetting? Aphelios. It was the Aphelios ultimate that snared everybody down, and then the Rumble Equalizer that did a bunch of damage, and then Thal came in with the Aatrox and cleaned everything up, and it was GG from there. But they weren't able to find anything like that in Game 3, and unfortunately they ended up losing. Breon Blade starting off the season with a huge statement with a win over Cerebral, who are expected to be a top-tier team. And Cerebral came out with a lot to know what to improve on. They know what they needed to do. And later on in the week, they have OZ, which will be a nice tune-up game to help them practice out all those kinks. Moving on to the second match, we had Team Dynamics versus OZ. OZ seemed to be the punching bag of the league. I expected them to be that, and they ended up doing that. Dynamics came in really confident. They played really aggressive in the lanes. Since they were the better players, they were able to take advantage of that. OZ didn't really address any of the problems that they had, the main one being Eon really holding the team back and Broccoli not looking as good as he should have. Broccoli kind of came in a little bit better, but still could have played a lot better. There was really no clear solo carry for Dynamics. Everybody had a really good game, and on the flip side, there was a really clear player on OZ that was holding the team back, which no surprise, like I said, Eon really holding the team back. Dynamics looking to be a threat whenever they get leads in lane. And OZ, like I said, going to be the punching bag of the split. Overall, I'd give it like a C+ on the match grade. Well, to where Breon Blade versus Cerebral was A, I'd probably say. The only thing preventing the first match from being A+ is that both the teams were really roughed in Game 1. And the reason why this is a C+ is that unless you'd like to watch people get stomped, you really don't have fun watching this one. But, I mean, we got to see some pretty exciting plays. Moving on to Day 2, Match 3. We saw Element Mystic versus Jin Air Green Wings. I'd also give that a C. Yeah, I give that a C+. Element Mystic somehow got worse with a jungle upgrade. They got Gank Nom in the jungle, and they still somehow look like a worse team. Jin Air are obviously a much different team than when we saw Kespa. Maybe they aren't a different team though. Maybe Spear are just that good. You never know. Slugger was having an off day, very obviously. Normally he's really good on the gangplank, and he was really struggling with it. Meanwhile, Tana just absolutely blew my mind with how well he played. I definitely underrated him. I will say I was very wrong on my ratings of Tana. I think he's going to be one of the best top laners this split. And I definitely am going to put some, as they say, respect on his name next time. Jin Air will be the best team if the carries aren't target banned, if Tana is allowed to have his comfort picks, if it's just going to be really painful for them. And also, Yaharong, if he keeps getting comfort picks, he's going to take over games as well. He had really good games. Meanwhile, Element Mystic need to draft more comfortably. Although Slugger is normally good on Gangplank, he seems to be more comfortable in players, more aggressive in laners like Jace, and Gank Nom really does better with early game junglers as well, and he didn't really get those. I'd probably put him more on the Olaf, and I'd probably put Slugger on Jace whenever possible. Or Jax. I think Jax would be a good champion for him. But overall, C+. Jin Air won confidently, but there wasn't really Well, actually, no. It was fun watching Tana pop off on set, and I definitely recommend watching Game 2 of this match to see really good set play. But besides that, it was honestly a pretty boring series, just Jin Air taking out the trash. Match 4, we had actually a really good game. A lot better than I would have expected. Azura versus Spear Gaming. Azura revamped their roster without telling anybody. They have Hinu in top lane, who is a popular solo queue player. They have Regank in the jungler, who is a really good jungler in my opinion. Probably a top 3 jungler in Challengers Korea. Well, last split. I don't know about this split. Then you have Roy, or I probably would say like top 4 jungler from Regank. But you had Roy, who I don't really know much about, and I still don't, but he looks really good. And then you have Garden, who's a really good Ezreal and Miss Fortune player. And you have IDK, who's a pretty good support. Azura played really aggressive game 1, and it really threw Spear off, and you could tell. And the rest of the game, just Spear looked really lost and visibly caught off because of how aggressive Azura were playing. But games 2 and 3, they slowed the pace. And then Azura were the ones that looked lost because they didn't have these early leads, and they weren't over to overpower Spear. And as a result, Spear just took over the series from there. They obviously looked like the better team, and they looked rough at first, but it's nothing to worry about. It's just they were caught off guard, and they know how to adjust to stuff like that, as shown. And Azura aren't likely to be a playoff team, I don't think, but they're still a threat. Oh, I spelled playoff wrong. I just realized that. They're still a threat for playoffs. And they're a threat to playoff teams. So that's something to look out for. I gave that a B+, like I said. Match 5. Oh, that's a wrong grade. That's not supposed to be A+. That's definitely not an A+. That one's supposed to be C+, not A+. My apologies. Cerebiel really needed that tune-up match. Well, actually, I don't think I meant to give that. I think I just didn't change the grading. I'd probably give this like a C-, honestly. It was a really sloppy game from both sides. Cerebiel, they look good except for Cacao. Cacao had a close jungle matchup, which shouldn't be the case with Cacao. Especially into Gankna, or not Gankna, I apologize, Jesus Christ. Into Broccoli. It shouldn't be close, considering Broccoli is a far inferior jungler to Cacao. Thal and Nova played out of their minds this series, and OZ really need to make roster change. They really need to replace Eon. I can't emphasize that enough. Match 6 was an A-. It was Dynamics versus Spear. And most people would say that's a bit of an overrating of match grade, considering it was a sweep. But even though it was a sweep, both games were still pretty close, and it was really interesting to see how methodical Spear played this game. And watching Dynamics play aggressive and then adjusting to it, but it was too little too late because their team fights looked sloppy because they were paranoid about them being behind, I guess. And Spear just dismantled them and showed that they're the single team to beat in CK. Fun fact about Spear Gaming, they are so far this year in 2020 undefeated against other CK teams. In matches, I should say. They've only dropped one game, and that's to Azura, game 1 when they were caught off. So I guess maybe the sign for that is you got to play really cheesy and aggressive early to beat Spear. I don't know, but let's move on to the Week 1 All-Pro team. Quick note, these are based off my personal opinions. There's no official All-Pro team, which is why I make these. Kind of like the LPL style, how every week they have the pro team. But this time I'm doing it a little bit different. I have the best players in every role, and then I also have 2 subs, quote-unquote, which are players that were really good but weren't the best player in their role this week but still deserve to be mentioned. And then I have the player to watch for Week 2, which is based on Week 1 performance, who I think is going to pop off Week 2. That's not on this list, so that's a really important part. That's not on this list already. So let's start off with top lane. We have Tana, obviously, had a fantastic game. Jungle, we had Kroko. Again, played really well, way better than he should have. Mid was really hard between Firing and Yahorong, but I put Firing as a sub and I put Yahorong as the starter because his Diana is just disgusting. It's so good. Jaguar, I would probably say my personal best player of the week would probably be Jaguar. Played really, really well. Of course, granted, he was playing Aphelios all the games that he played well, but still, even for Aphelios, played really well. And then Senon for the support. And for the other sub, I have Wiser, because he played really well, but he didn't pop off as hard as Tana did, but was still a really important part to Breon Blade's victory. And my player to watch for week 2 is, of course, Hinu. I think Hinu's going to have a nice week. He has a nice match coming up with... Who are they playing on? Let me check. Okay, sorry. Hinu is playing Dynamics, which I think his matchup against Rich. I think Rich had a pretty bad game last time, and Hinu can definitely take advantage of that and look to have a nice pop-off week. So we'll be seeing from that. And that's the end of the Week 1 review. I'll be commentating over some highlights from Week 1. I'll be posting those, and in the future I'll be more consistent about commentating over highlights and uploading them as soon as possible. I'll see you all later, and yeah, you have a good one.